The rain began quietly that evening, a slow drizzle that turned the dusty streets of Orimeji town into glistening veins of brown water. Inside the narrow lanes, the soft hum of prayers echoed from the mosque, blending faintly with hymns coming from a small church across the road. Between those two houses of God, a man's faith was about to be tested in ways he never imagined. Pastor Daniel was known across the town for his fiery sermons. He preached with passion, thunder in his voice and conviction in his eyes. To him, the truth was singular, his truth. He had spent 20 years on the pulpit telling his congregation that every other path but his was lost, until the day he met Imam Musa. It began innocently. One stormy morning, the church roof collapsed during service. No one was hurt, but the entire structure was drenched. As people scrambled to save what they could, a group of men arrived with shovels, planks, and nails. They were from the mosque nearby, led by Imam Musa himself. The pastor was stunned. No one had called for help. Yet here they were, fixing the roof, working in silence, soaked to the skin. That evening, when the last nail was struck, Imam Musa shook the pastor's hand and simply said, "Goodness is not a religion, it's a choice." That sentence stayed with the pastor for weeks. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. More powerful stories of faith, doubt, and redemption are coming, and you don't want to miss them. A month later, the town council invited both the pastor and the imam to a youth conference on peace and tolerance. The hall was filled, the air was tense. Pastor Daniel arrived with his Bible. Imam Musa came with his Quran. They were asked to speak on the path to God. When the pastor spoke, he quoted verses with confidence, emphasizing salvation through his faith alone. The crowd nodded. But when Imam Musa rose, he didn't quote. He told a story about a man who built a wall so high that even God's sunlight couldn't reach his heart. Sometimes, he said softly, we build those walls with our own beliefs. The hall fell silent. The pastor looked down. Something inside him trembled. That night, Pastor Daniel had a dream. He saw himself walking in a vast desert. Ahead of him was a well. When he reached it, he saw two cups, one marked faith, the other truth. He picked up faith and drank deeply, but his thirst remained. Then he reached for truth, and suddenly the water turned into light. He woke up sweating, shaken, confused. He didn't preach the next Sunday. His congregation whispered. Some said he was sick. Others said he'd been cursed by the imam's words. Unable to sleep, Pastor Daniel went to the mosque at dawn. He found Imam Musa sweeping the floor. I don't know what I believe anymore, the pastor confessed. All my life, I've told others that only one truth exists. But what if truth wears many faces? The imam smiled. Then perhaps, my brother, it is time you meet them all. For weeks, they met secretly, not to argue, but to listen. They read both scriptures together. They shared meals, laughter, silence. The pastor found something new in the imam's humility, not a threat, but peace. Months passed. The pastor's church attendance dwindled. His fiery sermons became quiet reflections. He spoke more about love, less about division, but the elders grew uneasy. They accused him of betrayal. One Sunday, he was called before the church council. Pastor Daniel, one elder, began, "We heard you pray at the mosque. We heard you eat with the imam. Are you no longer one of us?" The pastor looked at them calmly. "I am still a man of God," he said, "but maybe I no longer believe that God belongs to one house." The church erupted in murmurs. Some walked out, others wept. That night, the pastor sat outside his empty church, looking across the street at the mosque lights. Imam Musa approached quietly and sat beside him. "You've lost much," said the Imam. The pastor nodded. "But I've found peace." Months later, the church and mosque hosted a joint community gathering. Christians, Muslims, even traditional believers came together to share food, prayers, and songs. The pastor and Imam stood side by side. The pastor began, his voice steady. "Faith is not a competition, it's a conversation. For years I shouted, but when I finally listened, I heard God's voice not from the pulpit, but from the man I thought was my enemy." The crowd was silent, moved, thoughtful, changed, and as the camera zooms out, the two men pray together, different words, one heartbeat.